Knowing what you want from life is a dangerous thing, especially as an adolescent. It applies to experience what life has to offer and decide what particular path. The reality is that adolescents probably haven't experienced enough in the first place to make that decision. The drawback of knowing yourself, quote unquote, is the limitations that result from it. Due to this, forming your identity is extremely difficult and painful. This is the very bittersweetness of adolescence. Kyoto Animation is without a doubt my favorite anime studio. Between Hyouka, Sound Euphonium, and A Silent Voice, this is always clear to me, even Kobayashi and K-On! Hyouka is a show that means a lot to me personally. It's my favorite anime of all time and deals with the struggle that I have faced. Hyouka is a show about self-discovery through the understanding of others, or at least how much we can understand of others. Hotaru Oriki's journey is one that is quite important when it comes to understanding the essence of Hyouka. His journey throughout the series is highlighted through the show's brilliant visual direction. It communicates just how pivotal his character is within the story. Exemplified through brilliant OP, Oriki is still in a moving like water, but his clanmates, mainly Chitanda, are causing ripples and disrupting the stillness. Oriki is very much described his idea of energy conservation in the Grey Color Life. He doesn't want the Rose Color Life. Hotaru thinks that the Grey Color Life is right for him. He wants to be detached, be average, blend in, and conserve energy. He quote-unquote knows this lifestyle is right for him. He isn't just lazy, as Satoshi puts it. He's unmotivated to do things that don't interest him, which just happens to be many things with his current state of mind. The story's purpose is pretty much to add doubt to his preconceived notions of who he wants to be. Admittedly, the story seems like a bunch of pointless mysteries. However, these mysteries teach the main characters about other people and their struggles. This is epitomized by the title arc, Hyouka. Jun Sekitani is very much the embodiment of the saying, "Show me a hero and I'll show you a tragedy." Jun Sekitani saved the cultural festival, but was forced into doing so, which ultimately ruined his life. He wasn't able to speak out his inner thoughts like many other Hyouka characters, and they can only be understood if someone pieced together what Hyouka meant in relation to his story. The moment when they figure out that ice cream is ice scream was very chilling to me. This was the same tale that was originally thought to be a brave, honorable protest against the school and the teachers. This exact situation is mirrored in the Kuchikapia sequence, with Tanabe hiding his feelings behind the pranks. There are many scenes that show how lonely Hotaru is, whether it's the black shroud around him and the widening gap between him and the rest of the main cast, or the fact that he is constantly alone at home. As Satoshi says, Oriki made a black cloud over himself. Loneliness is cyclical, and he did this to himself. Hotaru isn't narrating his lifestyle in the beginning of the show. Rather, he's narrating a biased interpretation of himself, or who he wants to be. This is made obvious by how much he puts up with Chitanda. The question is whether Hotaru always wants to be alone. He certainly always tries to be, but over the course of the series, he's shown to be unfulfilled by it. He's depressed at home after the failure of the film arc. The pain of the rose-colored life turning into gray really hurts him as it would for anyone. Episode 10 has the screen literally changed to a grayscale, when Mayaka points out an issue with the solution to the film's plot. Maybe he should stick with the gray life, and not feel that pain, but he already tasted the rose-colored life. He must come to accept the pain that the rose-colored life brings. Oriki experiencing the rose-colored life at times is shown throughout the series. The scene with Chitanda in the cafe was imbued with pink. The first scene with Irisu in the restaurant was oversaturated. In both scenes, he's overwhelmed by his sudden strong feelings. In the Chitanda scene, once the idea of a confession is brought up, the clock ticks become louder and the scene is pink-hued. Each moment of silence has a whole new weight to it. There are multiple glances at Chitanda's mouth, one of which causes the clock to stop. As she starts talking, multiple cuts to her mouth, the clock, and his winding eyes indicate his uneasiness and romantic anticipation. In Irisu's case, everything changes when she starts emphasizing Hotaru's ability. The unusual low-angle framing, quick cuts, the focus on each other, and lighting show that he's overwhelmed and experiencing the rose-colored life. Oriki is happy when he's being praised as shown by the scene, which is a very human thing. He isn't just getting frustrated and defending his logic after the film arc failure out of pride. Rather, he's holding on to the justification of his rose-colored life. He begins to stare at the ground and be lost in his thoughts after the failure. In the OVA, he's snapped out of his rut, which Chitanda says he's special to her. Hotaru doesn't want to think he needs to be special, but he does. He takes much more joy in his mystery skills in the festival arc, and receives praise from Tanabe. His satisfaction is obvious in this arc. Oriki changes to become much less detached from his surroundings. This detachment is what the second OP communicates. Being passionate brings its own pain. Hotaro's distressed trying to figure out where he went wrong after the film mystery. He tells himself he shouldn't care and expend energy, as nothing can be changed, but he's still haunted by it. He approached the film mystery as a literary problem, and didn't view it from a more human perspective like Chitanda did. His lack of sensitivity in this regard is quite obvious. But Hotaro showed concern over his approach. His statement that he felt he was insensitive when saying Ogi likes helicopters is quite different from the Hotaro of before. Oriki becomes a lot more passionate and tactful over the course of the series. The screen blurs in episode 11 when he's frustrated in his room over the flaw in his approach, and then again at the restaurant with Irisu. His passion is overwhelming and disrupts his view of his lifestyle. Other examples include the final scene with Chitanda and the bridge scene with Satoshi. He's willing to teach Satoshi a lesson for the pain he caused both Chitanda and Mayaka, which is very uncharacteristic of him. Prior to this, Hotaro didn't care about Mayaka and Satoshi's romance, and the implications of it. Mayaka doesn't care about talking about her romantic affairs around Hotaro, as she views him as an observer rather than a meddler. This is obviously not true by the end of the show. While he isn't as sensitive as Chitanda, Hotaro cares about not hurting people. The ripples in the tea in episode 11 symbolize Hotaro's expressiveness. There's that ripple motif again. He's riled up, angry, and yelling at Irisu. Hotaro accepts things as they come. He doesn't do things for himself, but he does things for other people. He slowly starts doing more on his own volition. Hotaro's always broken his motto from the first episode. He truly does care about other people somewhat, but hides that and lies to himself. He has a biased interpretation of himself, and is quite contradictory. These only add to how relatable and real Hotaro feels. He's always guilted or coerced into doing things for other people, as shown by him joining the club and solving any of the mysteries. Oriki's initially unaware of his changes, as he repeats his motto, and doesn't like being told about his sensitive side. Eventually, the Chitanda things stop when Hotaro is quite curious himself, and self-motivated. As much as the series is about tunnel vision and accepting/learning from others, Hyouka is also about Hotaro finding his own drive, and doing things out of his own volition with a new view on life. Hotaro's vision during the Dolls Festival is both blurred and oversaturated. He brings up his old motto again as an attempt to remind himself of the old way, and not feel overwhelmed. Rather than being lost in his thoughts and feeling separated, he's so in the moment and curious about Chitanda, who is right in front of him. He's passionate, breaking his motto with disfavor, surrounded by people, and romantically interested. Oriki clearly stated he doesn't understand Satoshi at the bridge. However, he understands how Satoshi felt when he thinks about confessing to Chitanda. Being with Mayaka may bring Satoshi pain. Being with Chitanda may break Hotaro completely from his old way of thinking, which he's obviously not ready for yet, as shown by how overwhelmed he was when he's walking with her at the end of the show. Oriki gets his final pink-hued moment due to his now conscious love for Chitanda. Her opening up to him is a big moment for Hotaro. His inner confession and thinking about his future are proof that Hotaro wants a rose-colored life, but he isn't quite fully ready for it yet. The Hotaro that has his future semi-planned out and looking out into the pink sunset is quite different from the one that just floated by, being average. This Hotaro has many different options. He smiles after Chitanda looks at him. He accepts his feelings and looks out at what's to come. Change is gradual and won't fix her problems immediately, but it's certainly progress. Tomoe, his sister, gives him chocolate on Valentine's Day. He kicked the present away, closing himself off per usual from his sister and everyone else. Though he relents after watching Satoshi struggle with Mayaka and eats the chocolate. The chocolate that's meant to be sweet tastes bitter, because that's how life is sometimes. He smiles, knowing that the sweet, rose-colored life can be bitter as well. Oriki always got average grades and was always average, as Satoshi points out. While his intelligence may be supernatural, his struggle is so very real. Hotaro always tries to tell Satoshi that Satoshi is special, while Hotaro transitions from thinking that he is average to thinking he has something to offer. Satoshi views himself as more average over time. Satoshi is the ordinary person, as said by a director and writer. On the flip side, Hotaro has found his forte and is learning to use his brilliance, while Satoshi tries to compete but keeps failing. His reduction of himself to a database is quite saddening. His struggle in trying to be Hotaro is so real, and he's obviously jealous. All of the characters struggle in their decisions and what they want from life. Satoshi hasn't found what he's particularly good at. Maybe doesn't have anything. He's denying himself Mayuka out of fear of his happiness. Satoshi, the advocate of the rose-colored life, was choosing the gray-colored life. The pain of the rose-colored life was overwhelming. Hotaro is coming to understand that he wants the rose-colored life. Chitanda has to learn that she isn't good at manipulating and managing people during the festival arc. She has to live with her fate of helping the family business. She's anchored into their ghostly, haunting town, with little options. Her lack of a managerial skill set limits her career options further. Mayuka, worried about her ability as a writer, has to deal with watching someone experience what she fears most. Chitanda and Satoshi take a long time to fully open up to Hotaro. They slowly hint at their respective struggles. Hotaro has to deal with his feelings for Chitanda and has his entire lifestyle challenged. Chitanda, Hotaro, and Satoshi all struggle with what they want from life, in terms of ambition and relationships. Envy is the major emotion of the festival arc. Satoshi is jealous of Hotaro's skill in one particular field, which Satoshi hasn't found yet. Mayuka comes to understand the struggle of a fellow manga club member, Kochi, who can't write as well as Anjo. Kochi is jealous of Anjo's skill as a writer, and knows that she's inferior. Hotaro comes to understand the struggle of Tanabe, who wishes he could draw as well as Kugeyama. Sometimes people aren't good at what they're passionate about. Other times people don't know what they want, and would like to do what they're good at. But many of the characters haven't found what that is yet. It's a struggle that many high schoolers and college students face, such as myself. Having my options limited by being realistic about my time, ability, and situation is something I struggle with still. All of these people will have to learn to not compare themselves to their friends, or realize they're not fit for what they want to do. A show that is so focused on framing a perspective can also be viewed differently depending on your own individual perspective. It can be seen as a boy's self-discovery, a series of mysteries about the tragedies that go unnoticed, a show about the masks that people wear, the importance of interaction, framing and perspective, or a show about the thorn of adolescence, as the director said. I think the show incorporates all of these aspects. Hyouka is a very sad series, but it's very subtle about that. It's not sad in tone at all, rather it's just a slice of life mystery. The characters all wear masks to others, and even themselves. These masks are slowly removed over time. I've personally gotten too comfortable in my way of thinking, and rejected another's way of thinking as being not for me. I felt I had many of my answers in late high school and early college. I had tunnel vision. Anime and other people helped me change that, as Hyouka can be interpreted as a show about tunnel vision. Knowing what you want from life is a dangerous thing. The show has helped me as a person in college. I used to be much more certain in my worldview, and what types of experiences were important to me. Hyouka helped me realize the unpredictable benefits that can come from branching out of my usual routine, and the comfort zone. I certainly have a lot of growth left, hopefully for the rest of my life. As a result, Hyouka hit me in a very unique way. Satoshi states that Hotaro has this black cloud around him. Hotaro isolates himself with his way of thinking. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. One can't break out of his misguided tunnel vision because of said tunnel vision. Orochi's lack of tact, self-isolation, and average attitude were all contributing to the cycle of delusion. That is where Chitanda came and changed everything. Hotaro's flaw is that he thinks he knows what he wants. However, I think the series makes the point that it's not so simple. Satoshi has to deal with indecision and not knowing, while Hotaro has to deal with what he thinks he knows. Hotaro is a hell of a lot closer to himself at the end of the show, in contrast to the beginning. He doesn't know what he wants from life. Maybe he'll be with Chitanda, or maybe he won't reach the point where he's comfortable with that soon. Change is subtle, but it's there. Tomoe's role in this series is fascinating, having been involved in every major arc of the show. She's the one who recommends the creation of an anthology. She's the one messaging Irisu, which causes Irisu to think about Hotaro for the film problem. Irisu then contacts Chitanda, knowing about them or the fact that they're both in the classic lit club. Tomoe also gives Hotaro the broken pen, that eventually becomes a bag of flour through a series of trades. She's constantly traveling, and always seems to be doing new things. I think the series views her as the ideal, as someone who's constantly breaking her boundaries and helping out her brother. She gets Hotaro the summer job that helps him get out of his slump after the mess of the film mystery. She might not love every place she visits, but she makes the effort. She's the opposite of Hotaro. It may be painful to try, but how else can you know? Hotaro and his friends had no clue he changed so much due to the classic lit club and the mysteries. Hotaro is shocked in the last episode by himself when he's walking with Chitanda. Satoshi, Mayuka, and Chitanda are shocked by him during the Ogi mystery. He's obviously much different as a result of joining the classic lit club. A big part of Hyouka is how everyone has a struggle, no matter how invisible it is. Satoshi and Hotaro are two differing, contradictory people that have to understand each other. Hyouka is about hurdles and crossing them to understand yourself. Hotaro was definitely hurt during some mysteries, and definitely had trouble fitting in with Chitanda, Satoshi, and Mayaka, but he's a lot better off having done all those things. What's important is that he has left the tunnel. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you guys understand why Hyouka is so important to me, and understand its depth a little bit better. This video is mainly possible because of the support I got from my friends. The ones I especially want to thank include C-Tactics, who looked over my script and let me bounce ideas off of him in terms of the meaning of certain scenes. You can find him at C-Tactics on YouTube. I really want to thank Garfield, who I sent audio to about 3 times, and he looked over the audio and gave me his thoughts on him each time. You can find him at Slice of Life Senpai, or his Twitter, which I will link. I want to thank Condafiction for looking over my scripts and giving me tips. He can be found at Condafiction on YouTube. And most of all, I want to thank Kevin Neha, who gave me a lot of general tips for YouTubing, and he heavily went into my script and identified any flaws he found with it. The script would not be nearly as good as it is if it wasn't for his help. He, of course, can be found at Kevin Neha on YouTube. All these links will be in the description.